It's time to talk about that UCI Gravel World qualifying race I was doing in the Ottawa area. It was called the OG Classic. It was their first time ever holding that event, and I must say that the organization and the volunteers and the racers were all A1. The course was amazing. It was 56% gravel, 44% road. You know me, I wish it would have been more gravel, but whatever. I actually cycled from Wakefield all the way to Lac-Sainte-Marie, which is where my parents had their first home. Enough about me, let's talk about the race. The race was 122 kilometers and 1,680 meters of elevation gain. It was a very fast start. I got a couple of guys that recognized me from the channel that went and talked, and I told them, yeah, I'm going to start slow. I'm going to be easy because I haven't trained. I don't want to blow up. I want to be sure that I finish the event. I haven't made a big ride this year. Well, you know what? I went pretty crazy at the beginning. There's one guy that I passed, which I had warned about my idea of starting slow, and he goes, I don't understand. I was going like 35, 37, and you passed me like if I was standing still. You must have been going 45. For a while, I was in the lead group. It's pretty crazy, the people that you're going to meet when you go at gravel events, because I had some guys showing up to me and say, hey, you're the tire guy there on YouTube, Terra Riders, eh? So we started chatting, and it was really a lot of fun. And actually, during the race, this guy with the Checkpoint Gen 3 LR4 in the same color that I had started talking to me. He goes, hey, you're Terra Riders. You know I bought my bike just because of you, because of your review. And you know what? Everything you said about this bike is actually true, and I freaking love it. And then he turns around and goes,
you want to work together to get on that?
yeah, let's go.
You good?
Yeah. That's probably where I burned a lot of matches, but you know what? We had a blast. It was wicked. It was pretty crazy seeing all these people ride really fast, have good communication, not even have one instant or a moment where you could panic or you would think that something wrong was going on. I had a blast going downhill during the ride because I remember a spot, and I'm so mad at myself that I didn't start my camera, because there were a couple of S's turn, and I was flying by, and I flew by like 30 people, and then we had a big right-hander corner where we had to turn on another road, and I just ripped that corner, and I was flying. That's just before I said this. For a tire that I've never ran, never did any kilometers on it before the race, I am trusting the shit out of it. What was really funny is that I passed a lot of people, and all those people passed me again during the climb. Why? Because the biggest climb was 4.5 kilometer long and about 420, 430 meters of elevation gain. And I have to say, climbing is not my strong suit, gravity is not my friend, and my weight is not helping me out. The climb was brutal for me, and a lot of people just cycled past me and just dropped me like crazy. But man, I had a blast when I was going downhill and passing all those people. It really, really gave me a big thrill. I set into my own pace, and I was just keeping at around 220, 250, 260 watts just to make sure that I would finish the event. I really felt it after that big first climb, which was 25 kilometers into the ride, so pretty early, that my legs were already hurting. I was like, man, I still have like 100 kilometers to go. I better pace myself and be smart about this. A detail that's pretty important is that the day previous to the race, there was a big rainstorm. And that rainstorm actually threw between 4 to 5 inches of rain inside of 4 hours in various areas. There was actually a road that washed out. That's pretty major. There's a couple of moments I want to talk about this race. First, the staging. To get from where we were all, which is Centre Varlage and Wakefield, to the staging area, we had to go down some hills and the roads, and then we had to cross into a covered bridge, which is pretty cool to live with all these riders and all that stuff. It's a special flavor to the event. Another aspect is that there was that brutal climb that actually got me dropped from a lot of people. Then we had a descent closer to Lac-Sainte-Marie, which was super, super rough. There were such washboard all over the place, and I am just bombing down that descent. And then when I see a car, I start hitting the brakes because I want to make sure I don't lose control in front of the car. I don't want to die. But I was flying. You know what I noticed during that descent? Like 100 bottles on the ground. So people, come on. You need to buy proper bottle cages for your bike that can hold your bottles in place. It is a safety hazard. You're just bombing down there and you're hoping you're not gonna hit a freaking bottle. I have to say that my 2 bottle cages that I ordered from AliExpress, which are the titanium one that I've taught previously, held my bottles in place perfectly and beautifully. Never rattled, never had a chance to drop. So that's what I love about them. I also love the fact that they're light. I also love the fact that they're titanium, so it makes it a little bit different. After that, when I got to Lac-Sainte-Marie, well, I actually saw the first ski hill where I learned to ski with my parents. Then I pedaled right next to the first golf course that I played with my parents once again. That's actually where I learned to play golf in 1993. I wanted to get back in shape to actually try to do a very good result in this race and maybe qualify. But you know what? I didn't lose 1 pound. I still have a lot of emotions from losing my mom in January, and I don't have the mind to it. I go play outside. I have a lot of fun with my friends, with my girlfriend, and all that stuff. I just went through Lac-Sainte-Marie, which is where my parents had their first house, which is where I spent a lot of my summers and all that stuff. So yes, I cried. The emotions just popped up. I cried, I smiled. It was something. It was a lot of fun, and I was expecting that. This ride is tough, but it's also for my mom and my dad. I miss him so much. But I was not expecting to see my girlfriend, and she was just jumping and proud and happy. That gave me a lot of positive energy to keep on going, because at the 74th kilometer, when we were in the village of Lac-Sainte-Marie, that's where the second stop was for water, food, and all that stuff. Well, I was pretty tired, and sometimes I was actually doubting, am I gonna finish this? Is it worth it? And all that stuff. And then I just powered through because she gave me a lot of positive energy, and it was awesome to see how proud she was of me. Goes in front of me when I go through this bridge, and after that we are turning left on the road, which I had never done. And you know what? There were some sections that were really fast. I was like not pushing hard on the pedals, and I was still keeping up at 33, 34, 35 kilometers an hour. And it was an awesome time. There were still some climbs in there, which I was not a big fan of, especially another special feature of this race, which was going over a dam. It's pretty awesome. I was riding with a girl, Molly, from Toronto, which I had met that day, and we just decided to roll together and chit-chat and keep ourselves motivated and just, come on, we can do this, and blah, blah, blah. And then there's another guy that caught up to us called Andre, and we decided to ride all 3 together. That's actually where I fell, just coming off that dam. We went through some amazing landscapes. I wish I would have had my second camera to film those. I want to talk about the tire choice that I did for that event. I decided to go with the Specialized Pathfinder 45, which is the latest version of the Pathfinders, and I had never used that tire before. My first experience with a slick center tread tire was not amazing. I found I didn't have enough grip when I was cornering, and that made me nervous. You know what? I just went balls out on these tires, and I was trusting it that it would hook up, and it actually delivered awesome. None of my equipment is why I didn't perform super big. It is all because of my legs and my weight and my body. It's all about the rider. I didn't get any punctures. These tires were awesome. So now what I want to do is I want to talk about the bike that I was riding. I was using my Trek Checkpoint Gen 3 SL5 bike, which is not really an SL5 anymore, but let's go through the specs of what I was using. First of all, the bike is a medium. I am 5'8.5", and I weighed 215 pounds. So I was running 32 psi in the front and 34 psi in the back in the 45 millimeter Pathfinder that were actually measuring 46 millimeter on my 30 millimeter internal wheels. That's a lot of numbers. What you have to know about my bike is that I'm running the GXT type drivetrain, which I think is the best gravel drivetrain you can have on your bike. 10 to 52 gives me a lot of gearing to climb those hills with a 40-tooth chainring at the front. I could still keep a good pace when going down hills. Yes, I did spin out from time to time, but you know what? I could just let myself go, dip down in a more aero position, and just rest my legs a little bit because they were tired. That transmission is mated to my AliExpress wheels, which are still awesome, straight, roll very nice, and I freaking love them. I was running the stock SRAM levers and calipers. What I did though is I changed the rotors and the pads. I went with a semi-metallic pad because I wanted more power when I was braking with those brakes, and that actually gave me what I was looking for. In the cockpit, we're talking about a Redshift suspension stem, which I'm using the 60 and 70 hardness compound to have somewhat of a small flex and be comfortable on that stem. I'm still using my Easton EC90 ALX bars, which have been flawless, are comfortable for me. My bars are wrapped in the Physique Super Cush bar tape, which is 3 millimeter thick. Why? Because I want more cushioning and vibration absorption so that my body, my upper body, will not feel all that vibration and be more comfortable and have less ache when I finish a long day like I did. I'm running the stock seat posts with a new saddle. I used to run a Roman Evo 155 millimeter wide saddle, and I actually went for a bike fit 2 days prior to the event, and that's where I learned that I needed an even wider saddle. I am now running a specialized Roman Mimic saddle, 168 millimeter wide, and you know what? It's awesome. I don't have any aches in my bottom. I was comfortable. I could actually sit on the saddle and leave my weight on there and have less hip rotation, flexion, and displacement when I was pedaling. To know my data and to see the course, I was using my Garmin 530 GPS unit, which has been flawless since day one. And at the back, I'm running a Trek Carback radar and light. On my bike, you will see also my Trek Adventure top tube and 2-liter frame bag. That's where I carried my food, my spare parts for if I have a puncture. Also, I have a mini pump in there, although I was carrying my Trek electronic pump just in case I had an issue. The last two components I want to talk about are the following. First of all, I have a power meter on my gravel bike, which is the SRAM Apex left side power meter, so that way I can have an idea of how much power I'm putting down to make sure I can manage my efforts and my energy so that I don't blow up. And the last thing I need to talk about this bike is pretty simple. It's my pedals. I'm using the 1UP Components SPD pedals. I love them. They're light, they're comfortable. Gear-wise, I was using a Van Rysel helmet, a Van Rysel photochromic set of sunglasses. I was using my Stein jersey and my Stein bib and my Stein socks, which I all find very comfortable. And shoe-wise, I'm using a Ride Concept SPD mountain bike shoe with some specialized insole to make sure that I have support on my arch because I have a very, very tall arch. So what did I learn in that event that could help you out? First of all, you need to manage your fueling and your hydration. Fueling wise, make sure that you can open that stuff very easily to eat it easily when you're pedaling. So test it out. Hydration wise, make sure you have water and electrolyte. That way you can mix both out and actually wash your mouth, because if you're like me, you will get tired of all those tastes in your mouth. And if you're taking gels after gels after gels, well, your mouth is going to be very pasty. So you need water to actually just wash it out and wash it down. Make sure you have a proper bike fit, because if your bike fit is not dialed, you will hurt yourself when you're doing a big event. So be warned, make sure you have a good one. Personally, I like the idea of the retool bike fit centers from Specialized, because there's actual data, there's actual measuring that is being done. It's not voodoo black magic. You don't have to fit all in those windows, but sometimes you might feel that it helps a lot. And for a rational person like myself, it gives me data that I can analyze and look at and say, you know what, I'm fitting in that mold and that's really good. That's where I feel good. And then you have to communicate with your bike fitter. My experience was awesome. Once again, I'm not surprised. A lot of people were asking which tire pressure to run. And that's something that I don't understand yet. Just measure your tire, use the Silco tire pressure calculator, and it will give you an awesome number to start with, and you should be pretty close to be dialed. And the last thing that I learned at that event, go out there and have fun. It is a race for some people, it is a challenge for others, it is just a ride for some. So do it what you want, but go out there and still have fun. What really surprised me about the event, first year, organization was spot on, signage was awesome, volunteers were unbelievable. Always there, never distracted, because there was a lot of street crossing and they made sure that everybody was safe. So thank you, all of you, for that. Another thing that surprised me is just seeing Ted King just pedal by next to me. I'm like, what? And he came up to the event to punch his card to get to the Gravel Worlds. There was also Mike Woods, which is a Canadian Olympian that actually raced on the Tour de France. And then you have amazing gravel racer like Adam Roberge. It's awesome. There were some big hitters also on the ladies' side. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, and I'm very tired because I raced yesterday. When I actually crossed the finish line, I told my girlfriend, never again. But you know what? I love to challenge myself on a yearly basis into one of those big events. So it's probably something that I'll do again next year. It's going to be a sufferfest for me, but let's see how it goes. I actually gave myself 3 goals for that day. One was to finish under 5 hours, which is done. I actually did it in 4 hours and 43. The other one was not to crash or die. I'm still here, so that went well. And the other one was to not finish last. And I did not finish last in any of my categories. I did finish in the bottom third, but I didn't finish last, so I'm happy about that. If you like this type of content, let me know. Share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel because it's free for you. Does wonders for my channel, and thank you for that. On that note, enjoy the thrill of your rides.